Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Guess Who's Bak with your host, Chase Geiser, joined by my esteemed guest host, Steven Bak. And boy, do we ever have a show lined up for you today. There is so much happening in the world, so much happening that it's almost impossible to keep up with. But directionally, we are going in the direction that's very familiar to us. This is the direction of the massive conglomeration of all political power worldwide and the entropy of civilization itself, particularly the war on the West, which we see manifesting in many different ways in many different places on virtually every different front imaginable. Now, we're going to be getting into several different breaking news stories today, mainly the fact that Spain is being invaded by tens of thousands of Moroccans. Now, the news won't say it's being invaded by tens of thousands of Muslims, but that's exactly what's taking place. J.D. Vance came out yesterday and said that a government shutdown is virtually inevitable as Democrats demand free health care for illegal migrants in the United States of America, leaving me wondering, why is it that we care at all whether or not the government gets shut down? Because I thought that was the whole purpose of America First conservatism, that the government shrink, that it be reduced to only its essential services or sections or departments. But we'll get into that as well. Plus, we've got more news coming out about what Trump's doing at Camp David, what's happening between Ukraine and Iran and Saudi Arabia with these weapons deals and these uranium deals being pulled. What's happening with what's the name of that organization that's the Middle Eastern version of the UN?
The Board of Peace.
The Board of Peace, which is the Middle Eastern version of the United Nations. But I am just left in total dismay. I'm not trying to be a negative person, and I don't want to be the type of content creator who just, picks on somebody like an Erica Kirk and just makes content after content about Erica Kirk. And I don't want to just pick on Trump over and over again for the sake of it. I'm still glad that I voted for him compared to Kamala Harris, but I'm certainly very disappointed in the way this administration has played out compared to what I had anticipated would happen when we won that unprecedented election in November of 2024. But now we have a situation in which every war is escalating when we voted for a president who ran on no new wars and successfully delivered on that in his first term. We have unprecedented debt at the highest levels. We have massive consumer debt. We're facing massive deflation from artificial intelligence coming in and replacing jobs. And we've got a situation where our government's going to shut down, which is, in my opinion, outstanding. But the West is virtually collapsing right before our eyes. And I know that in certain major cities like perhaps London, if my memory serves, but certainly in the United Kingdom and various institutions or nations in Europe, we have the number one most common name for a newborn child being Muhammad. And now we have Spain overnight invaded by 58 to 60,000 illegal migrants from Morocco who took ships and they swam because of a vote that occurred in Spain in July, which implied that anyone captured at sea would not be sent back to Morocco. This, of course, went viral in Morocco, and all of the young men saying that they needed more work started swimming or boating across into Spain. Spain has come out and said that 48,000 of them have already been returned, but that is almost entirely untrue as far as we can tell. There's no evidence to support that whatsoever. But this is yet another example of the West collapsing right before our eyes. And I don't want to fall into this trap of sounding like a neoconservative. I don't want to ride along the coattails of the Mark Levins or the Bibi Netanyahus or others at Fox who like to emphasize this conflict that we're having with Marxist Islamists. I don't want to say, hey, look, we've got to vote for a Republican Party that's akin to Lindsey Graham compared to a Thomas Massey, or we got to vote for a Republican Party that's more like a Mitch McConnell than a Thomas Massey or a Ron Paul or a Rand Paul, because the alternative is this Marxist Islamist revolution, which is taking place in the United States of America. But that leaves me with the question, how is it that the Republican Party, if it's so neoconservative and so just in favor of our national sovereignty here in the United States of America, how is it that it's allowed us to get to this point? And they'll say, oh, well, the Democrats have not checked the more radical elements of their own party, and this is why these radical elements are taking over the left. But we know, anybody who's studied any history whatsoever, that the left has been radical and Marxist for the last 60, 70, or 80 years, and is just now culminating and manifesting in an obvious overt way rather than a covert way. It took them decades to take over all the educational institutions. It took them decades to take over all of healthcare. It took them decades to take over all corporations with DEI and ESG. It took them decades to catalyze and develop organizations like the WEF or the IMF or the United Nations in order to sabotage and corrupt them in order to force this globalism upon us. And so now we're left at this point where our fuel prices are through the roof, inflation is through the roof, spending is through the roof, and we have 3 or 4 different ways in which World War III could actually become a hot war, all while Pete Hegseth is testing our older soldiers for testosterone levels because conscription is on the horizon. So say goodbye to your children or your grandchildren who are in their 20s because conscription is likely going to happen within the next 6 months. And nobody is being told why this is the case. Nobody has given a very solid explanation as to why it is that we always have to be at conflict with Iraq or Iran or Libya or virtually any of these nations in the Middle East. And the Mark Levins will come out and say, well, it's because of these Islamist extremists. We have to do something about them. We have to police them and hammer them down. But we all know that that would be totally unnecessary for the United States of America to do if our currency wasn't completely dependent on the petrodollar. So because our currency is a lie, and we've committed this grave sin as a civilization of lying in virtually the way we do business in all ways, now we have to pay for that lie over and over again. And as long as we perpetuate that lie, the payment collects interest, which compounds. So here we are, folks, on the verge of another government shutdown, where we'll be lied to about the reasons, we'll be lied to about whether or not it's even a bad thing. On the verge of World War III, on the verge of conscription, Europe is falling right before our eyes, and no one seems to be doing anything about it as our politicians sit on their hands and Lindsey Graham gets replaced with his sister. It's absolutely disgusting as they pretend that Mitch McConnell is still competent so that they don't have to have a special election to fill his seat in the next 6 months because they're trying to pass the SAVE Act, which has no hope whatsoever of passing in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to get into all the clips, all the news, all the latest tonight. Bak, what is on your mind?
I did a little digging about this whole Moroccan incursion into Ceuta, if I'm saying that correctly. And a lot of people didn't know this, but it's rumored that Mohammed IV, VI is the 4th, right?
No, that's the 6th.
Okay, Mohammed VI, holy shit, that's a lot of Mohammeds. He's gay. And this dude is a gallivanting crown prince and now the king of Morocco. And he's not in Morocco a lot of the times. It's rumored that he has a gay lover that is a Middle Eastern boxer. He's always been rumored to have attended gay bars and nightclubs in Brussels. And there is a man, it's always the same culprits. Andre Azoulay, a Moroccan Jew, has long served as a senior advisor, consigliere to the king of Morocco. He has held this role continuously since 1991, first under King Hassan II, then under the current king, Mohammed VI. Azoulay is a Moroccan Jew. And if what Alex has been saying, because he's been blasting the airwaves, and I really respect him for his own reporting and his own digging and what he brings to the table, if this was directed at the behest of Israel, this would essentially be an agent of the Israeli government that organized this.
What incentive would Israel have to catalyze something like this?
Well, this is what really confuses me here, Chase, is that Spain has been doing this under a more orderly, controlled, if you can even call it such a thing, fashion. They legalized 500,000, I believe now up to 3 million.
Moroccans specifically.
No, Muslim immigrants, refugees.
Any migrants,
in Spain,
refugees,
yeah,
okay.
Because they are a leftist communist government now, and they want to swing the voting bloc in their favor and incentivize the Muslims that they're important to do this. But recently, Spain has taken a very hardline stance against the United States and Israel. They wouldn't let NATO launch sorties out of the air bases, specifically the United States, using the NATO air bases in Spain for the Operation Midnight Hammer and then the attack on Iran. And they've been taking a very hard line in the UN, basically calling out the genocide of the Palestinians by the Israeli government. So I think, when you are releasing pressure on
Okay, so they're calling out Israel for its war crimes in Gaza, and Israel saying, "All right, well, how do you like the Muslims?"
Yeah, well, they were doing, the Spanish communist leftist government were already doing this to swing the votes.
Sure,
But now it's like
but they didn't want to do 50,000.
they didn't
want
to do a flood that was completely uncontrolled, completely unvetted.
and we got to wait 6 years for all the reports to come out as to how many women and children were raped during this flood. Mm-hmm. I mean, the city that is being flooded in Spain has a population of, what is it, 83,000 people.
I didn't even think it was that high.
Yeah, the population is like 83,000 people. They've had 50,000 people from Morocco flood the city in the last 24 to 48 hours, which means that the population of the city has virtually gone up 50% overnight. That means for every 2 Spaniards there are in the city, there's 1 Muslim single youth military-aged man.
Yep.
So I imagine the crime is rampant. I imagine the rapes, the stabbings are rampant. I imagine that women and children and men are in a lot of danger in that city, and they're probably fleeing the city. I mean, it's just absolutely insane that this is taking place.
I would imagine the Adidas tracksuit population has went up 150%.
Yeah.
These guys all wear joggers.
Yeah.
It's Allah Akbar in their fresh-fitted Adidas tracksuit.
Dude, this is a disgusting tragedy, though.
But Andre Azoulay is the guy you want to take a look at because he's essentially been the administrator in absentee of King Mohammed VI, if the rumors are correct.
Let's fire up the first clip.
In just a matter of days, 85,000 migrants made it in.
Wow.
They're saying 85,000 now?
That's what they're saying.
Holy
if she
shit.
If she got it right.
I mean, I've heard a few different figures. It started with like 30, 40. Then I heard 60, which was my latest update. This lady's saying 85. I've never seen so many doctors and engineers in my life.
Yeah,
They must be
it's
excited
incredible.
for the new society being built.
Unbelievable. I want to see Alex break it down. Wow, this footage is incredible. They're just letting them flood in. I can't believe the cops aren't firing. It's an invading force.
They should be firing
It's a
tear
fucking
gas
invasion.
and rubber bullets. Absolutely.
It's a fucking invasion, dude. I cannot fucking believe that. Can you imagine if 50,000 people came across the border overnight in Texas?
Oh, I'd be fucking.
Dude, the local Texans down there would be using everything that they had,
circling in a convoy,
regardless of
trucks.
what the police would do, regardless of what ICE would do, regardless of what the National Guard would do in Texas. If 50,000 people started flooding overnight in Texas, I guarantee you that Texans would be forming militias and going down and taking care of business themselves. That is an invading force of tens of thousands of people. You realize how much damage you can do with tens of thousands of people? I mean, how many people did we have deployed in Iraq the last 10 years we were there? In Afghanistan the last 10 years we were there? 10,000?
I don't know the exact force posture at any one
it was
time.
like 10,000 around certain air forces and certain bases, certain strategic
the
locations.
surge in Afghanistan was 30,000.
50,000 troops can invade a weak country. No problem.
I have to kind of push back here, though. That did happen at our southern border under Obama.
Over the course of 8 years.
Yeah, it wasn't as intense
but
in
if
a
it was
2-day
all
period.
at once, no, we totally. I mean, more people invaded the United States of America during the Biden administration than Russians invaded Ukraine.
Yeah.
We know that it was tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. We know that it's added up over the years to
tens
30,
of
40,
millions.
50 million. The exact number is disputed. We know that 300,000 to 400,000 children have gone missing. I went down there and I saw it myself when I was at Eagle Pass. I mean, it was absolutely disgusting to witness what was taking place, but it wasn't 50,000 overnight. And I mean, that is a World War Z mob invading a country. That's how I imagine it looked any number of the several times that Rome was sacked. Just random people running through, looting, burning, military.
I think the leftist Spanish communist government wasn't part of this, and this was actually an antagonistic action by potentially Israel. You see it all line up. The guy that's administrating.
Well, Israel loves to unleash Islam on various countries,
like
because
Dr. Frankenstein
they want
using
people to see. Like, that's why they danced when the Twin Towers were struck. Now finally America understands the radicalism of Islamic terror, and they're going to get involved and secure the region that we've been struggling like that. Yes, I understand, but it's just bullshit, dude. The real enemy in those videos isn't even the Moroccans doing what the Moroccans are doing. It's the Spanish government utterly betraying its own people. That is fucking disgusting, dude. Disgusting.
The initial waves, it was the police caught off guard. And then they have now just started, I believe as of yesterday, deploying the military there.
Are they killing anybody?
I have not seen a single person get shot, which is crazy to me.
That's unbelievable.
Crazy to me. But this is what happens when you disarm a
And
population.
they're only reporting the number of dead of Moroccans who drowned trying to get over. They're not reporting the number of dead of people that were murdered, cops that were brutalized, children that were raped. Guarantee it's happening. Guaranteed.
Oh, I bet you
it's
there's
happening.
knife fights
100%.
going down like Roadhouse
100%.
in this. They're not going to report on that. I'm going to shout out the first super chat of the night on this Friday night. Thank you, Honey Badger, for the $5 super chat. Tempted to vote Dem or to get the current reps sent to jail or worse. What are they going to do? Tax me more? I'll fight for my land. Oh, thank you, Andrew Team America, for the gold coins for the 10 jewels. Really appreciate you, brother.
Wow. Let's watch this.
Spain has announced it will grant legal residency to 500,000 undocumented.
And we've already got the Republican Party, specifically Trump, saying that this will happen to the United States of America if we don't vote for Republicans. In the
Oh,
midterm.
we have that. We'll play it shortly. The next clip we should hit, though, is the clip of Bibi Netanyahu, basically in an ominous tone.
Which number?
102.
No, 102 is Alex Jones. Israel is implicated.
Yeah, that's the clip.
Okay, there you go.
So the Spanish government opened the door for this, but earlier this year and last year, Benjamin Netanyahu, in public statements and in letters he wrote to the Muslim Moroccans, said that since the Spanish government is not supporting Israel's war with Iran and not letting B-2 bombers fly out of Spain, that they said that Israel said they would back and recognize Moroccans taking the one little city the Spanish have had for hundreds and hundreds of years there in Morocco.
To stand against Israel, those who attack the state of Israel instead of terrorist regimes will not be our partners. Regarding the future of the region, I am not willing to tolerate this hypocrisy and hostility. I do not intend to allow any country to wage a diplomatic war against us without paying an immediate price.
Wow.
That was Netanyahu, by the way, saying that in regards to Spain.
It's just like if a bunch 50,000 Mexicans stormed the border of Juarez and took El Paso.
That would be worse because it'd probably be a lot of cartel in there. They'd have weapons on them.
You don't think the Moroccans have organized crime?
I was watching the Overground Railroad over there, and I didn't seem like they had like firearms on them because they were coming over like out of the water.
Yeah, but they got knives, and the Spaniards don't have any guns.
Yeah, I mean that's so you think it's correlating then because the Spaniards don't have guns.
Like
so.
in Braveheart, for example, the British didn't let the Scottish have weapons, so they trained with rocks. You got a sword against a guy with a rock, you got an advantage. You got a knife against a guy with fists, you got an advantage. Obviously Juarez and El Paso would be guns on guns. That would be brutal. But this almost seems worse because it's unmatched.
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually.
You know what I mean? So this is some of the most disgusting stuff I've ever seen. Let's watch this.
I saw Spain yesterday, and I watched the catastrophe that took place. It looks like an invasion of a country by hundreds of thousands of people. And that same thing's going to happen to us if the Republicans don't get elected, except worse. Much bigger, much easier to get into, despite the fact that we have built thousands of miles of wall, which I said we were going to do, but we didn't have that, forget it. But we have the safest border in the world. If we're not in office, our country will be invaded at levels that made Spain look small time. And when I watched it, I said, I'm going to say it because I knew you were going to be at Camp David. And I say, that's going to be a talking point for the midterms. Because when you look at what happened to Spain, they don't know what to do. And it's happening again today. They're coming in by the tens of thousands. They're just invading the country.
I mean, is he foreshadowing the future? Another Democratic administration gets in, like you're predicting. They are going to make the Biden surge at the border look like child's play.
Well, there's a couple of differences. The first thing is, if the United States of America truly opens all of its borders, like we kind of saw under the Biden administration, like we saw to some extent under the Obama administration, you're not going to have the same number of Muslims, certainly within the same short proximity of time, because we don't have major Muslim nations on our border. Now, it's possible that, they fly them in droves. We saw a little bit of that happen after we left Afghanistan. There were Afghani refugees placed in various locations all over the country. We've seen a little bit of that happen with Muslims and even Chinese crossing the southern border in the United States of America for sure. 30,000 military-aged Chinamen at Parade Rest. We've seen Islamic terrorists cross over saying, just Google me, look me up, you'll know who I am. There's certainly been examples of that, but primarily what happens when the United States of America opens its borders is we get a bunch of working class Mexicans that come in, as well as the contamination of cartelos.
I think this will play out a little different if there's a second surge under another Democratic administration. At that time,
what the Democrats will do is they'll take all the Gazans, they'll fly them here, and they'll make them refugees, and then we'll have just a bunch of Hamas in our major cities.
So
that's what they'll do.
There's so much war happening in the Middle East.
Humanitarian relief based on the genocide that's taken place in Gaza and Israel's big bad. And I agree that Israel's big bad, and I agree that it was a genocide, but the Democrats will use that as an excuse to accept tens of thousands of refugees into the United States of America. And we know that the population,
millions.
Yes, we know that the population in Gaza, certainly in the aftermath of the war, is overwhelmingly terrorist sympathizing, at least. If they're not terrorists themselves, they hate the United States now. They hate Israel now more than ever because everybody living there knows someone who died from a bomb. They know civilians who were killed or abused or whatever. So they all hate America, and we're just going to fly them over here, litter them throughout our cities, and then when there's all these terrorist attacks that take place in the United States of America, more division's going to be sown, more justification for the artificial intelligence arms race takeover, more justification for surveillance and flock cameras and monitoring everything. Patriot Act 2.0, this time powered by artificial intelligence. I mean, that's what they want to do. The Democrats are gonna in the name of soft-heartedness, they're gonna bring all the Gazans over here to the United States of America. We're gonna have massive terrorism here, and they're gonna use that as the excuse to usher in the total control.
It's gonna be more than Gazans. We weren't at a war with Iran back then. There wasn't a DSA socialist alliance with the Islamists. This time, Islamists didn't hold capital cities like New York, and they didn't have as many mosques as they do now in areas like Houston and Dallas. So they're going to import the Gazans. They're going to import every displaced Bahrainian, Qatarian. And they're going to import every Yemeni refugee that's displaced. And this war gets wider and wider. It's already spreading to Egypt. The only nation that I'm seeing not sucked in is Turkey. So these certain conditions weren't happening during the Biden administration that are becoming rapidly inflamed and expanding in front of our eyes every single day today. So I do think we need to see the importation of radical Muslims. We need to keep a close eye on it because it's gonna be like something we've never seen in history.
Yep, and that's the Republican platform for 2032. The neoconservative GOP is going to say that the Marxists have merged with the Islamists. They're already saying it. And they're going to say that the only way to stop it is to elect neocons that love the military-industrial complex, that love surveillance, that love big government, that love artificial intelligence, that love massive surveillance from space, that love massive military spending and weapons development. The only way to stop it is to vote for a Lindsey Graham duplicate or a Mitch McConnell duplicate or any number of other conservative, traditional, neoconservative players. And ultimately, my prayer is that when we lose in 2028, which nothing's inevitable in politics in the United States of America, but the zeitgeist here is trending directionally that we're going to lose in the midterms, and then we're going to lose again in 2028. And we are going to have 4 years of hell. And what we have to do is we have to ensure that we purge our own party of the neoconservatives so that when we take the power back in 2032, it's not George Bush 3.0. It's not more of the same bullshit of this neoconservative movement that just likes to start wars and continue the petrodollar and lie to the American people and have no justice for the Epsteins and pretend that Israel's the greatest thing that ever happened to the face of the earth. I mean, we really, really, really need to be focusing on winning the internal civil war within the right side of the political spectrum in the United States of America if we want to take this country back in the 30s. But we're fucked until then, in my opinion.
There could be a national state of emergency declared here, too, because radical Islam is so emboldened. You see the sneaky sneakos. You see the Mandanis. You see how emboldened they are, that if they import all these war-torn refugees out of these Islamic countries from the Iran war, there could be an Islamic uprising simultaneously because of how emboldened they are. But the deportations are nowhere near where they need to be. So everything we absorbed under Biden,
and that's one of the
2020,
major things that Trump's failed on too. He stopped the leaking at the border, but he hasn't deported shit.
So they're still here. And then if the Dems get back in, they're going to do even more than Biden did on top of that. So that's why I think the demographics of this thing are a ticking time bomb. It's much different than it was under 2020. It's not going to be the same old ball game.
Well, Trump has to negotiate peace in the region before 2028. He just has to, because if there isn't peace in the region, the peace that will be ushered in by the left is going to be exponentially harmful relative to Trump's peace. I don't agree with Trump's decision overseas. I don't like the way Israel's going. I don't like the way the Chinese relationship's going with Taiwan and all the AI stuff going on. I don't like the way the conflict in Ukraine is going. I'm very critical of President Trump, but I would much rather live through the outcome of Trump negotiating peace in the Middle East than have these conflicts unresolved as a Democrat comes into power in 2028.
And the type of deals that they will cut
the type of deals
to get
that they
it
will cut.
resolved.
So
Yeah,
if we
from a
resolve,
position of weakness.
if we resolve the refugee crisis, the asylum crisis, in these conflicts that we've in many ways catalyzed or at least endorsed or allowed Israel to make happen, if we resolve them before the Democrats take over, then that's going to be huge for us. But if we don't, they're just going to bring them to. They're going to bring them to Utah and Illinois and Kentucky and Ohio
and New Hampshire, the
California.
whitest state in the country.
And they'll sprinkle them a little bit everywhere. And then they'll be and then anytime anybody brings up the fact that there's been stabbings or murders or rapes or lootings in these cities that have these disproportionately contain these asylum seekers or refugees, they're going to be called racist and shut down. And then if the left really takes over, they're going to do massive censorship on the major platforms that are publicly traded, not X, but on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. A lot of this censorship has pretty much evaporated under the Trump administration, but it'll come back because the next White House, if it's blue, will apply pressure to these big tech companies, just like the Biden administration did to censor in the way that we saw during 2020. It's bullshit, dude. And while all that's happening, they'll throw a little pandemic in there. They'll throw a little biological warfare in there to justify more vaccines and vaccines in the produce and vaccines in the livestock. And they'll throw in a little bit more inflation and then a housing crisis on top of it. And then they'll have a central bank digital currency to throw in. Then they'll say we need flock cameras, but not because, Muslims are being violent, but because white people are being racist toward Muslims. Like it's just a snowball. We are really at, I think, a very, very, very critical juncture in our domestic policy right now. And I don't think people realize what's going on. People are just pissed off at Trump and they're saying, I'm not going to vote. And I understand. I'm sympathetic to that. But man, these things aren't getting better.
We can game theory this out right now. Government shutdown. Dems hold their feet in the ground and stubborn little mules. And then they make the shutdown as painful as possible ahead of the midterms. We lose the midterms. Trump becomes a lame duck president. We lose 2028 because of all this bullshit. And then massive migration from the wars.
Right, and
expanding.
censorship simultaneously, and crackdown on gun laws simultaneously, and on top of that.
Yeah. Dude, we're fucked, huh?
Yeah, we're fucked.
Yeah, we're fucked. Holy
shit.
shit.
The thing is, the Republicans will blame the Democrats for what happens in 2028, and it's true. It will be Democrats expanding this dictatorial government from 2028 to 2032, but it will be because the neoconservatives failed the American people, and the American people lost faith in them. Keep in mind that trust is the currency of leadership. And if you don't have trust because you've betrayed that trust, it's your fucking fault. And so we're not going to lose in 2028 because Democrats are better than Republicans. We're going to lose in 2028 because the Republicans didn't do shit they said they were going to do.
They never do, though.
And everybody's
Chase, they never do.
I know. But it was supposed to be different this time because Trump was supposed to be transcendent of the traditional uniparty political paradigm.
He doesn't fucking listen to us anymore.
No, he doesn't. Not at all. Too many special interests surrounding him. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, in his own words.
Yeah, just like you said about Israel,
Doesn't know what
Iran,
the
my
fuck
swear
he's doing.
matrix.
And I'm not saying I know what he should do. I'm just saying this ain't it. It's a lot easier to point out how not to do things than it is to suggest the correct solution. I can tell him I can say what this government's doing wrong, what the problems are, what the issues are, but I am not equipped to lead this country. I don't have all of the answers. All I know is we need to find some way to get off of the petrodollar. We need to find some way to change the identity, the personality altogether of the Republican Party to an America first rather than MAGA or rather than Israel first party. Neoconservatives, better term. And we have to reduce these conflicts.
No one finds it suspicious, too, that Israel is undertaking a massive diaspora right now, going to Ukraine, going to Argentina, making their own little fiefdoms here in the United States.
You know why they're going to Ukraine, right? Because they know that there's going to be a new government installed, and they want to have a say in how that government manifests.
That is like the homeland of the Ashkenazi Jews, too.
Yeah.
So they have familial ties that trace back.
Yeah, but Jews.
Chats right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Alaskan Rants. Big supporter of the channel. He's in Spaces. Follow him, guys. He's very knowledgeable. We don't even live under the same system we did pre-2024. We need to learn the new system before it can't be stopped. Talking about the death of the petrodollar, going into the new currency, all these different energy corridors being opened up. He's very insightful, guys. Thank you, Honey Badger, for the 3rd super chat of the night. How does a crackdown of gun laws affect guns already owned? I lost mine in a boating accident. Me too. At least that's my story. That's our story. And he knows his sheriff.
They'll do some shit like a massive ammunition tax, stuff like that. So they're not technically violating your Second Amendment.
That was in the UN plans.
Yeah, so they'll tax the hell out of ammunition, or they'll regulate the amount of raw materials that certain gun manufacturers can have access to.
And then make them raise their insurance, too?
And then what they'll say is, hey, we need these raw materials for munitions for the military, so you just can't make as much civilian domestic ammo as you did. Then the price will go right up, and then people won't be able to afford it because we're already experiencing inflation and the loss of our buying power.
Now we're fucking cooking.
Yeah,
dude.
so like they're not going to go in and take your gun right away. I mean, they might get to that point eventually, but they're going to make ammunition so expensive that people just have less, and they're training less, and they're not buying as many firearms because there's a massive tax on the firearms. And it's that's how they do it, man.
Motherfucker. So, Win, do you think this is an outright lie, or do you think that he's being played by Hamas?
He thinks it's going to happen, just like he thought they were going to follow the last
MOU.
ceasefire and the one before that and the one before that. I mean, we've had, half a dozen to a dozen agreed ceasefires in this conflict with Iran. None of them have lasted more than 72 hours, maybe 5 days at most. He keeps getting played. Because his advisors say, "Oh, it's going to happen," and then Israel, they bomb Lebanon or they go into wherever to erase it because they want this conflict to continue until the United States just wins the war for them on their behalf.
Well, the implication of that would be he's not just being played by Netanyahu or played by the deep state. I'm going to give you a little background on the Board of Peace. U.S.-led international body chaired by President Donald Trump for the rest of his natural life oversees implementation of his comprehensive peace plan for Gaza.
He's the chair even after he's not the president?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So he's essentially, this is tied to the UN.
He's made himself the chair of an international organization, regardless of whether he maintains status as president of the United States.
Correct.
That's fucking wild. I never heard shit like that before. This is tied
to the UN Security Council right now, and it handles post-war reconstruction, governance transition, demilitarization, and security-related arrangements. And when I was reading through this readout, there's 28 member nations that have signed on to the Board of Peace. So the implications of what you just said of him being played are he's not being played by an advisor, by a faction, or even a single country. He's essentially being played by a whole group of member nations then. Correct?
I don't know.
That would be my takeaway from this. And these aren't just Middle Eastern countries that have signed on to the Board of Peace. If I look here, it's Azerbaijan, Armenia, Belarus, which is a partner to Russia, Bulgaria, Cambodia, El Salvador.
All these nations could think that this deal is going to be great, but Hamas is never going to disarm. It just won't.
And Israel hasn't even defeated Hamas in Gaza.
Yeah,
they won't go into the tunnels.
Did the terrorists ever disarm in Afghanistan? Did they ever disarm in Libya? Did they ever disarm in Iraq? Are they disarming now in Iran after they've been bombed relentlessly? They're not going to disarm. I guarantee you right now, I don't have the data right in front of me, but I guarantee you beyond a shadow of a doubt that Hamas has more popular support in Gaza among Gazans now than it did on October 6th. the day
of course,
before.
after the genocide that's been happening in there.
Yeah, there's no fucking way that they're going to disarm. And it's really more of a mafia than it is a government. I mean, it's been in control of the Gazan region, but it runs it like a mob runs a neighborhood. It runs it like a cartel runs a city. Like, it's kind of informal and formal at the same time. So there's not really any centralized way in order to get them to agree to disarm. You could have some Hamas leader saying, "Hey, all right, everybody, disarm," and then you have some younger, general or captain that's like, "Fuck that, we're going to fight back until the end," just raising hell constantly. It's the only way to end the conflict permanently in Gaza is to kill every single person, innocent or guilty, who draws breath. The only way to win is a genocide.
Which is maybe the conclusion that Israel's come to. Which is why
Israel came to that.
And they funded Hamas.
Israel came to that conclusion before October 7th. That's why they allowed October 7th to happen, because they thought that such a brutal, well-documented, well-televised terrorist attack would garner so much sympathy for Israel that the international community wouldn't care at all what they did to the Gazans. But people don't like seeing dead babies pulled out of rubble, even though they are sickened by the terrorist attack that took place on October 7th. It's very obvious that there was a stand down. Even the New York Times reported that Israel was given all the plans of this attack a year or even 2 years in advance of the attack taking place. We left all the weapons behind in Afghanistan, some of them acquired by Iran and then given to the terrorists. It was something that Joe Biden did as an assist to Israel so this attack could take place to justify a genocide in the region. That's exactly what happened. And I'm telling you that people who are being genocided do not agree to disarm. They just fucking don't.
And we've never completely took out the strongholds.
Yeah,
they've been a Israeli cutout for a long time because they've laundered money, the Israeli government, to Qatar, and then Qatar went over and gave that cash to Hamas, to Hezbollah. So Israel would have an excuse to invade their neighbors, and they're only terrorists when we're fighting them, right? They're our allies when we're not. And we never defeat them in the process. We just shift.
Yeah.
Oh, Taliban, the terrorists. Oh, they're the enemy of my enemy, so they're my friend now. Same thing with Syria, with al-Jadadi or with Jababi or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
They all sound
but
the same.
keep in mind, the real reason that we want peace in Gaza is not because our government cares at all about democracy, not because it cares at all about terrorism, not because it cares at all about peace or stopping a genocide, but they want total peace in the region because they want the port of Haifa to be part of the IMEC corridor.
In the IMEC corridor, yep.
That's it. That was all part of. That's why Joe Biden conspired with Netanyahu to allow the October 7th thing to happen, because they determined that the only way you could guarantee that there wouldn't be a terrorist threat against the port of Haifa is to commit a genocide in the region. Just kill them all was the philosophy. That's why this peace is never going to happen. Even if they did disarm, then the Israelis would just go in and kill them all.
And then they would rearm again. Yeah. In response to that.
It's never going to fucking happen. It's retarded.
Well, this is the fourth column here, though.
I don't think Trump even understands this.
No, he's eating fish fillets and drinking Diet Coke, bro. He thinks the McRib is a good thing. Everyone knows the McRib is fucking disgusting.
He's not dumb, dude. You can be brilliant and ignorant. I don't think he gets it because I don't think anybody's telling him the truth about why
he's bubble wrapped.
He's bubble wrapped.
I've never seen a president so bubble wrapped in my life. But this is the fourth column I was just talking about. 106 massive protests in Tel Aviv, the major city in Israel.
Yeah, a bunch of young lefties. Mm-hmm. Is it because of the war in Gaza?
Oh, yeah. There's posters. Netanyahu's a genocidal maniac. This is a genocide.
We're witnessing ethnic cleansing and the evacuation of their homes, but it's also endangering all of us.
Netanyahu, Trump right there.
Baby Netanyahu instead of Bibi Netanyahu.
See that genocide continues poster, and the left's the only one I can read.
Yep.
Thank you, Honey Badger, for the $5 super chat. Joke's on them. He only buys IMI, FMJ 762 and 556. They wouldn't fuck with Jew ammo. In reality, what's the break point? And thank you, Anastasia Beaverhausen, for the super chat. This was never about Hamas. They are resistant like many others. It's about the land that was promised to the Jews 3,000 years ago.
They just want that IMEC corridor because they're going to make so much money being the central hub of international trade.
She has a point, though. They consider us the new Rome. the Israeli memory is very long. They're like the Chinese in that they think in biblical terms of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years.
So many Jews, including the ones in Israel, are secular. Many of them are not operating on some kind of a biblically informed position.
What do you think the percentage is of secular, non-secular?
Let's figure this out right now.
Is there even an accurate way to measure that?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a. What percentage of Israelis are secular versus religious believers? Let's see. Let's see what Grok says. I think this is well documented. There's been studies. I know. I've done business with people in Tel Aviv before I got into politics.
Did they bring you to the wall?
And they were secular. Among Jewish Israelis, roughly 73 to 74% of the total population, recent Central Bureau of Statistics data show about 43% identifying as secular, with the rest ranging from traditional to Orthodox religion. So secular or non-religious, 42 to 43%, almost half. Traditional, not very religious, another 20 to 22%. Traditional religious, 12%. Modern Orthodox, 12%. Ultra-Orthodox, 11%. So the vast majority, if you count the 42% plus the 22%, of Israelis are either not religious or very superficially religious. They don't fucking believe. I don't believe for a minute that Bibi Netanyahu is religious. I think he just weaponizes religion. There's no fucking way that he believes any of that shit.
You know what would back your point up too is Israel's the gay capital of the Middle East.
Yeah.
So if
the
they
guy
were
that I knew in Tel Aviv was
religious.
Gay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was doing business with back in 2020. Most of my business was done on Fiverr. I made like $500,000 on Fiverr, and so I had representatives at Fiverr that I could get on calls with if there was an issue with my account because I was doing so much business. So yeah, I would get on calls with people in Tel Aviv, Jewish guys, obviously nice enough, but very secular. Very secular.
Did they ever hit on you?
No, but they were friendly, and they believed that it was the Orthodox religious Jews that were, the reason the pandemic was so bad because they were fighting against the vaccine. It was during COVID, right? So the secular Jews were really in the cities were really frustrated with the religious Jews in Israel because the religious Jews were interfering with the vaccinations.
Wow, fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I might change my mind on that.
But Fiverr's based in Tel Aviv, so that's why I knew and did business with so many Jews.
Yeah, why did they name the app that?
Because it used to be $5 for whatever you wanted.
Oh, all right. I thought it was little.
Yeah, back when $5 was $5.
Back when $5 could buy you a junior bacon cheeseburger. So that's our cap on that whole invasion force going in, possibly directed by Netanyahu, and then the Sport of Peace announcement, and then the backlash in Tel Aviv now. Let's move to the war front widening in Europe because it's all becoming one big energy corridor war right now. Clip 107.
The strike of a suspected Russian ballistic missile into Poland is sparking new concerns that the war in Ukraine could draw NATO into a more active role. NATO scrambled its warplanes as an armed missile was detected crossing into Polish airspace during Wednesday night's barrage. Poland's prime minister said there's no evidence they were the intended target of what NATO's Secretary General called a, quote, reckless and dangerous act. Joining us this morning to discuss is Tom Carrico. He is the director of the Missile Defense Project at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Tom, thanks so much for joining us. So this missile thankfully landed without injuring anyone, but hypothetically, if a NATO ally were to be hit with a missile that created some serious damage or even killed some civilians, what would happen in that scenario?
Yeah, you're right. Polish officials originally said they thought this was deliberate provocation, which is
they've come out and said they think it was an accident.
Yeah, I think that's mitigating. I think that was a message.
Yeah.
Clearly
when
sent by
Russia kills a U.S. senator, the U.S. covers for Russia because they don't want the conflict to escalate. When Russia fires a bomb into Poland, Poland covers because they don't want the war to escalate. The official, quiet, covert international policy is that if there is a mild to moderate attack on any NATO forces, to pretend that it was an accident or it didn't happen or it wasn't that big of a deal because there's no consensus about a massive European war with Russia in the region. And Russia knows this, so they're just fucking around.
Well, no, they're not fucking. It's a tit for tat messaging. And when you say they don't want the war to widen yet.
Correct.
Because you wouldn't have staged all this NATO equipment in Poland. The main battle that I've been talking to you about logistically from a military standpoint is over the Suwalki Gap because that determines who can move their armored convoys, who can move infantry eastward or westward. It's if you control the 60-mile long corridor, right? And on top of that, let's not forget the probes of Romanian air defense a couple weeks ago with these drone incursions. So they're probing, they're sending a message. And very soon you're going to see a massive ballistic strike on Poland. Like, mark my words. That's where the bulk of NATO equipment is staged to fight and take over the Suwalki corridor. But Russia is not going to want to expand the manpower that they did in Ukraine. You have over 1 million dead on each side. Probably more on the Russian side because they were playing offense. So you need a 3-to-1 force ratio when you're going against someone who's entrenched and in, gun emplacements everywhere, trenches dug out.
Well, and the crazy thing is, we know that Russia could have taken Kyiv in the first 2 weeks. I believe that whole narrative that Russia thought it was going to be easier than it was, and now they're stuck in this, that was just propaganda to justify and get popular support for continued funding for Ukraine. They did not pull out the big guns. They didn't use their best. They didn't allocate all their resources. They just wanted to establish this war, and they wanted to sustain this war because they saw how it would just drain the West. It would cause so many arms to go to Ukraine. It would cause so much spending to go to Ukraine. It's such a distraction. It opens up other fronts throughout the world, like China's expansion through even Belt and Road or with Taiwan. So I firmly believe that Russia is intentionally elongating and perpetuating this conflict unnecessarily because they see the damage to the West or the United States specifically to be much greater the longer we allow this conflict to move on.
I got to push back. I believe Russia knew it could take Kyiv in the second attempt because there's a problem with Russia's military. It's that there's oligarchs who fund each branch of the military. So the military is in competition with each other politically. It's not a unified command structure. That's why you had Wagner. That's why you have the National Federation, the Russians' national military.
Yeah, but Trump is the puppet
PMCs.
master of all of them. I mean, he plays them all.
No, but I'm saying for the Russian
Not
side.
Trump. I meant to say Putin.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So when a lot of the times the Russian war doctrine is attrition. They've won most of their wars defensively when the Russian winter came. And then people outstretched their resources and their convoys.
But
and
when
troops.
they wanted to take Berlin, I mean, they just mowed through.
Yeah, but no, that only happened because of the Battle of the Volga River, when they made it all the way into Stalingrad. So the Putin uses war to consolidate political power. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
And when one guy gets a little bit too big for his britches, he cuts them down. They get poisoned. They get their jet blown up. So he's importing in all these Chechens. He's using
North Koreans.
Both sides are using mercenary forces because Ukraine has their foreign legion. I am not so sure that Russia could have captured Kyiv in one fell swoop without devastating losses politically to Putin.
I see.
But I know that he could use the war, use the attrition, just like you said. That's why I don't think you're completely wrong here. And then he can guaranteed capture Kyiv in a fell swoop the second time.
Well, and he wants to make sure that he has the desired, post-war government in place before he collapses.
Well, that would be part of the political attrition and the consolidating power using the war.
I think that what they're trying to do is turn the Ukrainian people as much against Zelensky as possible.
That is another end of it, too.
And it's
Absolutely.
happening because the Ukrainians are sick of the war, and they're sick of seeing their nephews and their cousins and their sons and their daughters
and
being
then getting
kidnapped and conscripted.
Dragged into a white van when you're essentially a global. That's their Uber Eats is Globo. You're just making a Ukrainian Euro delivery, and then you just get snatched into a fucking white van, bro. No candy offered.
You thought Vietnam was unpopular, man. Just imagine how popular Zelensky is right now. And of course, his popularity went right up when the invasion took, because there was this hoorah thing. But now it's like, dude, what are you doing?
And since we're talking about Zelensky too, did you find this article the video I pulled up, clip 108? I think Trump's playing Zelensky.
Let's watch.
Third time this has happened. He went to the NATO summit in Ankara. He told Erdogan that they would give them F-35s. Then a couple weeks later, our military commanders at the Pentagon said, "Oh, hell no, Turkey doesn't meet the requirements to get F-35Bs and F-35 Lightning. Hell no." Then he went to Saudi Arabia, said he would give them enrichment and allow them, to have enrichment processing, and then all of our civil engineers will go in there, and our nuclear scientists, and they'll help
Everybody
them.
just kisses his ass, and then when he goes away, they just don't sign.
No, we're doing that, though.
Yeah.
They're going kissing his ass. We're saying we will.
Yeah.
And then some other anonymous third party here says, oh, we can't sign off on that. So the enrichment deal got
He says
pulled back.
he's going to do it, and then he says, but you have to sign the Abraham Accords. And they're like, well, fuck you. That wasn't the deal.
No enrichment deal. And then now it was out of Trump's own mouth that they're going to license the Patriot
we saw that.
missile production.
We had the
And
clip
then
last week. He was
now
telling
he's
us
at Camp David saying, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So
maybe,
this is,
I don't know. Maybe
is he
because,
doing this on purpose?
No, maybe because Russians, killed Lindsey Graham and then bombed Poland. And maybe he's like, oh, shit, that's because we told him last week, we said we were going to give him Patriot missiles, so we'll just say we won't, and then maybe Russia will back down.
This
You don't
almost
think it's
seems
Russia?
intent. I almost think it's no, because it didn't just happen with the Ukrainians. This happened with the Saudi Arabians. This happened with the Turkish.
So you think he's got a strategy where he tells him he's going to give him something and doesn't on purpose?
I don't know what the fuck. This is what's really blowing my mind here, because you can't be intentionally this stupid to piss off all these different allies and partners in different theaters at the time you need the most. Why would you do that to the Saudi Arabians when they're helping you and now entering the war in Iran? Why would you do that with Turkey when they're a NATO member and that they're the main reason why the Kurds can't open a new ground front? So you see the F-35s deal going through, then all of a sudden Kurds are invading from Western Iran, from Kurdistan, from all those. So, and then why would you go and do that to, not that I'm a fan of fucking Zelensky at all, but why would you go and say, hey, we're going to give you the license to produce Patriot missiles. We need them. We're running out. This is in our self-interest. And then pull that back.
They probably figured out that if they gave him the license and the infrastructure and the blueprints to produce Patriot missiles, that it would only be a matter of time before Russia got access to all that information and was able to reverse engineer it.
But what about the enrichment deal then with Saudi Arabia?
I don't know.
What about F-35, which in all likelihood Turkey probably has already gotten its hands on? Because we've already exported them to so many different member nations. It's not that hard to reverse engineer and give those schematics back to them.
And the Chinese have had the schematics on the F-35 for 10 years.
The
so
J-13 or
anybody
whatever.
with an intelligence community that's got Chinese relations has got it.
None of this makes sense, and I almost think it's intentional. Thank you, Mr. C, USA Patriot, for the $10 super chat. Very generous. Bak, I agree 100%. This errant missile story is a cover to probe NATO defenses. I believe that these two wars will ultimately merge when the proxies are exhausted, drawing in the primaries. Yeah. That's where I'm at, Mr. C.
Let's watch this next clip.
We also have China denying reports that 400 rocket launches are being sent in the direction of Iran. Yesterday, there was some discussion that there has been movement of hundreds of these rocket launches via a back channel into Iran. President Xi had told President Trump, given him an assurance, according to the US Commander-in-Chief, that China was not assisting Iran in its weaponry whatsoever. So we have seen that firm denial from China today that those rocket launches are heading to Iran. But obviously there is still a vast level of concern about where this conflict is heading to, with there not being any apparent discussions going on at a diplomatic level now, although Pakistan, one of the main mediators involved in this, is desperately trying to urge the parties to get back to the table.
Jonathan Kersey, many thanks.
And then you want to just play 110? It's Trump's reaction to it. A reporter directly asked him to his face.
And that's really what Lindsay wanted. Yep.
And on Iran, one more, sir, sorry.
And good job at the dinner the other night.
Thank you.
Did a great job.
Thank you, appreciate that. President Xi told you that China would not give or sell Iran any weapons. And there's a new report that Iran's about to get 400 rocket launchers from China going through Pakistan to Iran.
Well, that would be surprising. I mean, things like that happen. But that would be surprising. He told me very strongly he wouldn't partake. And he knows I'd be quite disappointed. Yeah, and he's coming here, I think, on September 24th.
X's coming to the United States in September.
First,
probably a continuation of him going to meet Z. So if this reporter knows this already, he's known this for weeks.
Right.
The intelligence officials have been telling him what's been going on, why we've lost over 40 aircraft. Because manpads are essentially high-tech Stinger missiles. That's what they are. They used to take out F-35s.
What do they stand for?
Man Portable Air Defense System.
That's not what MAN stands for.
Manpad?
Oh, I see. Manual Portable Air Defense. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
I might have the abbreviation, but that's essentially it. Yeah.
Okay.
So why such a weak answer? Because that's a political answer. That's what that is.
Well, maybe
he's known for fucking months.
Maybe the real deal with Xi was, hey, we'll fulfill existing orders and we'll stop sending them new shit. So maybe Trump's like, oh, I'd be disappointed to
And
see that.
it's a way for Z to save face, because that's an expensive save face for the United States. You deliver 400 to 500 man pads, dude. That's potentially 400 to 500 U.S. aircraft.
Right.
Refueling aircraft, C-130s, helicopters, F-35s, F-22 Raptors. So, I don't know. That just seemed like a weird fucking answer to me.
It is weird.
Very ambiguous, very weak, very political. Should we hit clip 111? Another F-35 crashes in California.
We are following breaking news out of California. These are live pictures right now out of San Diego. The camera angle just switched, but emergency crews are responding to an F-35 military plane crash at Marine Corps Air Station Miramar. Here are the images there where you can see a large plume of smoke in the air. According to the local CBS station, the crash sparked a brush fire. Other local stations are reporting that the aircraft is in pieces near a field of scorched earth. No word yet on injuries at this point or what caused the crash. You can see a truck there spewing water at the whole area. We are going to continue to follow these live pictures, and any updates coming from the area will bring you more information as we learn it. But let's go ahead and send you back to Reed Cowan with more on today's top stories.
I guarantee you it was hacked.
Dude,
just like the F-35.
Dude, we've never had this many amount of training incidents. This
It
many
happens
amount
the same day that Iran does massive cyber attacks on American Airlines. Iran does massive cyber attacks on.
But we don't know if they did
T-Mobile.
the cyber attacks on American Airlines. That's a very
T-Mobile gets hit.
So.
American Airlines
I think
gets
so
hit.
Too. Minnesota's water systems get hit.
Yeah, and you know that Iran's a proxy for China, right? So China's had the plans for the F-35 for at least a decade. We know that they can be hacked. It's the only fighter jet that America's ever developed that can automatically eject the pilot without the pilot doing something. So that's hackable. I guarantee that it was part of the hacking that Iran's been doing, the cyber warfare that Iran's been doing in light of the conflict that we have with Iran. I bet you they hacked it and they caused it to crash. 100%.
You don't think China would be implicated? They have a massive cyber army.
Iran,
they call them 10-cent warriors.
Iran would know how to do it because of China.
Well, I'm not... Iranians are very capable. They're very smart people.
But we know officially that China has all the plans for the F-35, and we know that Iran is a proxy of China. So I'm sure that
to an extent,
I'm sure Chinese intelligence gave the Iranian cyber intelligence the keys to the kingdom.
So I have the figures here. Around 1,200 accidents involving U.S. registered aircraft on domestic soil in recent years, roughly 2020 to 2025 data, with the large majority being general aviation rather than commercial airliners. Most have taken place.
Start again.
1,200 accidents involving U.S. registered aircraft domestically. The large bulk of them being military, roughly from 2020 to 2025. 1,200.
1,200. So our Air Force is so bad that they've crashed over 1,000 planes.
I know. I don't think so. I think they're being hacked too. But I'm
or shot down.
Or
and then we say it's a training accident.
Or stolen, like Grand Theft, like GTA 6.
Yeah. Yeah, with the straw hat witness.
Yeah, do we want to play it one? No, we don't have to play it right now. That's the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life.
This is just obvious, dude.
Yeah, it's about one a month, right? More than that, actually, like 3 or 4 a month.
Yeah, come on. I just don't believe for a minute that we've had that many.
Be more. It's like 10 a month then, right? My math is bad.
Yeah.
How many per?
Well, if there was 10 a month,
year.
If there were 10 a month, that'd be 120 a year.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years, so yeah, it's like 20
a month.
Yeah. I guess we're just accidentally crashing planes all the time.
Holy fuck, dude.
No, dude, we're getting shot down in Iran and they're not reporting the casualties. We're getting shot down in Ukraine or we're getting shot down in...
No, those were the figures in accidents and crashes here domestically.
Yeah, but they say that the crash was a training exercise out of San Diego or out of whatever here, but it actually took place overseas. The domestic crash from the military is a lie. It's not domestic.
You think so?
Yes. You think that we're just doing training exercises like crazy here and it's resulting in 20 to 30
No, but that's all
planes
tracked
crashing?
by satellite data. You can see them being shipped out on the aircraft carriers. You can see the logistics train.
Doubt it. I doubt that.
You remember when that B-2 bomber got fucking absolutely fried? It looked like by a laser on the runway,
I'm sure,
on the tarmac?
I'm sure some of them are legit training exercises or crashes, but no way, dude.
Very interesting.
No way. Even when the fucking MAX 8, the 737 or 747 MAX 8, whatever plane that was, from Boeing, when it was having its issues where people weren't being trained properly on how to disarm the, automatic dive, that was only like 2 or 3 worldwide that crashed.
Did you ever see that report when those investigative reporters went into the Boeing manufacturing facilities, and it was like the dumbest possible fucking people, like literally meth addicts that were working on the fucking aircraft.
Yeah, but that was a software issue. That wasn't a manufacturer. The people on the line are going to be dumbasses.
Dude, that's a new phenomenon, probably in like the last 10, 20 years. The people on the line used to be the most capable, hardworking people. They used to be vetted. They didn't have meth addictions. They didn't have one tooth.
Yeah, you're probably right. Okay.
Like
Point
this
taken.
the degradation of society. So we're covering some of those domestic issues. We're seeing every international body crumble. This is just another example of that. Clip 112.
Con el juramento cumplido.
Venezuela quits ICC as Delcy Rodriguez slams global court bias.
Denouncing the Rome Statute, because since its foundation, and Venezuela was the first country to sign up to the Rome Statute, we have believed in true justice. But throughout its history, it has built up a record of...
Venezuela is leaving the International Criminal Court.
At our behest, because Trump at this Camp David meeting with Rubio also
and
shit
Trump
on.
hates the ICC because they're coming after Netanyahu.
And we've seen that the lead prosecutor that was going after Netanyahu for crimes against humanity just got hit with the sex scandal.
Yep.
So you see the Board of Peace set up to replace potentially the UN, who we've also been shitting all over. You see that we've been saber-rattling NATO. Like, you better pay up, you better pay up.
I assume that the government in Venezuela is basically our puppet now that we extracted Maduro.
Oh,
right?
yeah. We took Maduro out. We didn't even give them a fair election, and we just installed the number 2, who's an ardent communist.
Right. But she's our communist.
Yeah, she's our hammer and sickle.
Wow.
Yep. So the ICC is probably not going to be a body carrying any weight. At the same time, China, in this absence in the power vacuum, is setting up their own global management system, their own essentially UN. They're setting up their own data organization, their own AI cooperation organizations. So there is not going to be any more authoritative world body where, like a Security Council, where you can get in and reach a resolution. There's going to be competing bodies now. We have the Board of Peace. China has their Global Cooperation Initiative. The world truly is becoming bipolar, tripolar, possibly trisexual. Should we hit clip 113? Iran possibly linked. And I don't know if this is true.
Even more reminder here, the water is still safe to drink, and experts say that this is really about sending a message to the United States, not contaminating the water supply. Tim Simone.
All right, Mike, more to come in this for sure.
I just don't think it's a coincidence whatsoever that we've got an F-35 crashing, that we've got an American Airlines grounding, that we have a T-Mobile outage, that we have a water system in Minnesota that's
30 different systems.
So yeah, 30 different systems in Minnesota hacked. I mean, this is obviously Iranian attacks, and I think the Trump administration's covering for it. They don't want it to be obvious that all these cyber attacks are taking place, because it's embarrassing for the Trump administration that we are getting struck directly by Iran when we've claimed over 50 times that we've won this war.
He said at Camp David, he was asked point blank at the Camp David cabinet meeting, do you think Iran was behind the attack? And he's like, no, I don't think so.
They're too weak. Yeah, that's bullshit, dude. We're getting our fucking ass kicked everywhere, at all times, constantly.
That's an oversimplification. We're not getting our ass kicked. It's
I understand
bites at an apple.
A small leak can sink a great ship. We are not in a position as a nation to sustain a little bit of a conflict with Russia, and a little bit of a conflict with China, and a little bit of a conflict with Venezuela, and a little bit of a conflict with Iran, and a little bit of a conflict with Lebanon or Hamas or whatever. Like, we just cannot allow these people to eat every single problem to eat at us while we're experiencing massive economic crises, while we're experiencing massive issues with artificial intelligence and surveillance, while our Congress is getting absolutely nothing done. We have the House, the Senate, and the White House, and we still can't get legislation passed that says, hey, people ought to have to show an ID to vote. I mean, this is fucking embarrassing.
Unless we merge our intelligence and IP with Israel.
Yeah, that's the type of shit that we're passing. Because then your vote
won't fucking really matter anymore, will it?
It's fucking unbelievable to me. It's unfucking believable to me. And this is after years of them putting atrazine intentionally in the water without even being hacked. I mean, they turned generations of Americans into transgender people because of the atrazine in the water.
Well, before the atrazine, it was the fluoride. Then it was the Roundup.
Yep.
Then it was the birth control.
Yep. Then the atrazine. Yeah. So you've got no testosterone. You've got autism galore happening as we speak, and you have transgender thoughts if you're 12 years old and you drink from the tap.
I am having illegal thoughts.
Did they ever even fix the lead issue in the water in Flint, Michigan? I doubt it.
No, they actually have water issues. And we're going to do the disease breakdown. They're having water issues. It just expanded out of Flint, Michigan.
Nothing's getting fixed. Our education is getting more expensive for higher education.
And worse.
Not more effective. Our public education for children is worse, not getting better, not more effective. Healthcare is getting more expensive and worse, not getting better, nothing getting better. No one's being held accountable for any crime that they commit on a serious level, whether it's Epstein, whether it's Fauci, whether it's Pfizer, whether it's any of these big tech companies, right? Yeah, whether it's Bill Gates. Nobody's being held accountable, so our justice system's getting worse. Our border's leaking. There's no deportations taking place. Our education is terrible. Our spending is rampant, so our economy is shit. I mean, in what way are things better now than they were 10 years ago, than they were 4 years ago, than they were 8 years ago? I mean, we are sliding down a hill of shit, and all we have is big talking. No action whatsoever. Oh, I guess the biggest development is we changed the Secretary of Defense title to the Secretary of War. Isn't that just fucking wonderful? This is embarrassing shit. This is the most incompetent I've ever seen our government in the history of our government since like Jimmy fucking Carter. It's unfucking believable to me.
Shout out Honey Badger for the $5 super chat. He says, unfortunately, the Marine Corps has a lot of training accidents with the Osprey. So when it comes to training accidents, I do believe them, at least with the Marine Corps.
But 1,200 fucking flight issues? Watch this. There's another example of competence.
We will announce 17 new anti-fraud actions that will total about $1/3 of $1 billion, and that's added to the $230 billion that we've already uncovered. And I want to just talk for the benefit of the American people about why do we care so much about this? Because what I always try to remind people is that fraud has two victims. So to give one concrete example, there is a program that is administered by Medicaid, and that program ensures that low-income moms and low-income babies have access to neonatal care. Now, I think most Americans probably share my view that this is one of the great things about the United States of America, that if we see a baby and we see a young mother that requires help, we help our fellow Americans. That's a good thing. It's something that we should be proud of. And yet, there is a program that has defrauded the moms and the babies who benefit from these. You've gotten people who've gotten rich by setting up false companies that are providing
anyway,
false services.
it adds up to $750 million. Not shit is going to be done, and my brother who's on Medicare is being denied coverage even though he's got a brain aneurysm.
Yeah, they're further restricting Medicare, Medicaid right now with prescription drugs. We're going to be covering that shortly.
It's fucking trash, dude. Like, when are people going to wake up?
Not until they're not going to wake up as long as they're comfortable. The Russian psychoanalysis, as long as Americans have a roof over their head, food in their bellies, and entertainment, they're not going to rise up. So the best laid plans of men and mice go awry. Maybe when we get struck with EMPs and everyone's in lockdown, there'll be some sort of resistance that could be mustered out of this. Because it's not going to happen while people are comfortable. And there's more distractions now than there've ever been in human history. You know?
Yeah, I know.
They say the average incel waxes bag 7 to 10 times a day.
No fucking way.
Yeah, bro.
To where you're just coming foam?
You just dust. From the dust I came to the dust I shall return.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's
7 to 10 times a day.
Probably the most bag whackage in human history.
It's like every hour and a half. How do you get anything done?
They don't. They literally just go play Minecraft and whack their bags. And, Mom, is my Hot Pockets ready? And they don't move out of their family's basement ever. They have no prospect to making a family, producing, building and buying a house, or producing a family.
Well, and the whole incel phenomenon is largely linked to inflation and lack of affordability. I mean, if you can't get your own place and have your own income and take care of yourself, if you're stuck living with your parents because inflation is rampant and you've gone into massive debt going to college to get a degree that doesn't matter from an institution that doesn't teach anything, there's no bitch that's going to want to fuck you.
Of course.
Right?
And they don't even have the social skills. Like, there used to be a phenomenon of that dude in a band that would go live in a studio apartment in the 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And they'd actually go and be able to get bitches and have some
They at least
game.
had their own house.
Yeah, they had a place to live, and it wasn't great. It wasn't a house. They were renting a studio or a one-bedroom, but they would, I'm working on my novel, babe. My garage band's going to make it, babe. I'm
And
an artist.
It wouldn't work forever, but it would work for
But it
like
would
36
work,
months.
But that's even gone. Now you have some Zoomer incel with no social skills, no financial prospects, no prospects of starting a family, is not self-dependent, independent, is dependent on their parents. And that's what, and you know what's crazy? What's the percentage of Zoomers you think actually getting laid? Because they said it's plummeted, men and women.
There's a lot of Zoomers who can get laid that are like doing this weird semen retention shit that you do.
I'm doing it because we're starting a business together. You get what I'm saying? And
So
I don't want to be.
You want all your cum energy to go into the building the show.
I thought
business?
I would. It hasn't really done much. I thought I'd be shooting laser beams out of my fucking eyes right now. Like,
Dude, you're supposed to bust at
like
least a few times a
Goku.
week.
And now
It's
I'm
better
reading
for your
all this
prostate.
stuff because we've said the word semen retention so many times around my phone. I'm getting freaking men's health articles about prostate cancer.
Yeah, you got to bust, dude. Just don't do it at my house.
No, I'm not gonna. Why would I bust out your house? I already did.
Oh, you
Just
did?
kidding.
You
No,
gave in?
Just kidding, bro.
Wow. But you can bust without porn. Porn's probably bad for you. I'm 99%
I could probably
sure.
think about busting and bust at this point.
Really?
I'm so close. All right. Where the fuck were we? You got me way off track now. Do we want to cover the Anthropic hacks now?
Yeah,
That have the OpenAI hack where we thought it was Hugging Face and then it was Modal too. And then now we
That's
have
just all they're admitting.
Yeah. Oh, it's way past
Yep.
this, bro. It's like a slow drip. It's like the chlamydia of AI attacks. Now you have Anthropic coming out on the heels of OpenAI's breaches of other companies saying, oh, well, I guess since we're all doing this now, Claude got a little rowdy and hacked 3 different companies too. So what? I'm sure Gemini.
They want more regulation because
it closes the door behind them.
Yes.
Correct. I actually completely agree with that.
And it's good PR. It's like, look how powerful our shit is.
Well, it's like a limited hangout. It's not good PR in that government could over-regulate them because they can invite. They're asking for it to close the door behind them.
Yeah, but the American people don't give a shit about Hugging Face getting hacked and Claude admitting it. They just don't know. You gotta keep in mind, dude. The vast majority of people check into the news once a month.
Not our viewers. We give them the
I know.
news 3 times a week.
We're in a niche, bro. Mm-hmm. It's different. But it's like no harm, and it just admits how powerful they are and intimidates the competitors, and then it opens the door for regulation to wipe out any small business that tries to create a model that's just as good.
Yeah, so there's more to be gained than to be lost from admitting.
I think so. And we can skip Anthropic AI models. That's the next clip. We can skip Dr. Fauci contempt vote incoming. We should talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, Dr. Fauci pleaded the fifth, rather. Sorry, you're supposed to say that. Pleaded the fifth. The most number of times of anyone before Congress. It was illegal for him to plead the fifth because he was pardoned. So the reason the Fifth Amendment exists is so you have the right to remain silent in order to prevent yourself from being incriminated. But if you've received a blanket pardon for the past 10 years or whatever, like Fauci did from Joe Biden, then you no longer are at risk of incriminating yourself if you speak. So it was contempt of Congress for him to plead the fifth the entirety of the hearing the other day. He did so. It was comical. We saw the clips of Rand Paul and others saying what kind of tie you're wearing, whatever.
Howley.
Yeah, Howley. It's obvious, right? That it was ridiculous and illegal. But even if they hold him in contempt, I have no faith that he's going to do any time in prison. No faith whatsoever.
Well, what would hold up? Would the contempt override the pardon and open him up to justice?
Well,
would the pardon hold?
The pardon does not cover the contempt of Congress because the contempt of Congress took place yesterday. And
Yeah,
the
it's
pardon
a
only
different.
covers.
Yeah. Okay, what he's already done.
So they're going to say that he committed a new crime, which he can be prosecuted for. Obviously, Bannon went to prison for a little while for contempt of Congress. Right, that was what he did time for. So technically, they could legally hold him in contempt. Now, I'm not sure from a logical perspective how the sentencing works. So what I'm going to do is I want to, all right, so Fauci pleaded the fifth for things, pleaded the fifth before Congress regarding a time period he was pardoned for. This seems likely illegal. How can Congress hold him in contempt, and what determines whether or not he will be prosecuted, and what determines sentencing? Let's see what Grok says about this, because I want to have my facts straight about this if we're going to cover this. And it's a loading, working. Then we'll get back to the other clips and the other news. Thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for all the super chats during the show. By the way, it's the only way that this stays possible. Where's Jay Wynn with $500? Jay Wynn!
Super chat's been a little quiet today, but it's, we can't. It's the same people that give to us all the time, so we really appreciate the support.
Make sure you guys share.
Yep, just share, repost the show, tell everyone to like and subscribe if you find value from this program. I'm going to thank Andrew Team America. He sent us gold coin for 10 jewels. He's giving us all his doubloons.
Okay, so Congress can pursue contempt of Congress against Fauci through its statutory criminal process, and theoretically, its rarely used inherent power. But success depends on whether courts accept that the Fifth Amendment privilege no longer applies to the pardoned conduct. A presidential pardon does not make the act of pleading the Fifth itself illegal. It removes the federal criminal jeopardy that normally justifies the privilege for the covered offenses. If the privilege is unavailable, refusal to answer pertinent questions can constitute contempt. President Biden issued Fauci a full unconditional preemptive pardon on January 19, 2025. It covers any offenses against the United States which he may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st, 2014 through the date of this pardon arising from any manner related to his service as NIAID director on the White House Coronavirus Task Force response team or as chief medical advisor. Supreme Court precedent holds that an accepted full federal pardon eliminates the risk of federal prosecution for the covered offenses, so the Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination generally does not apply to question about the conduct. In Brown versus Walker, 1896, the court stated that if a witness has already received a pardon, he can no longer set up his privilege since he stands with respect to such offense as if it had never been committed. Key limits and caveats: the pardon covers only the federal offenses. It does not cover new potential crimes, such as perjury or false statements arising from answers given in the 2026 hearing. Accepting matters under Burdick versus United States, 1915, a person can refuse a pardon and retain the privilege. The privilege is question-specific, completely non-incriminating questions. What color is your tie? Ordinarily cannot be refused on the fifth grounds. Republicans, including Chairman Rand Paul, argued on the 29th, 2026, right, that since he was pardoned, he can plead the fifth. The usual modern route is statutory criminal contempt under Section 2 of the United States Constitution 192 and the certification process in 194. The committee here, Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, votes to recommend that the full Senate find the witness in contempt for willfully refusing to answer questions pertinent to the inquiry after being duly summoned. The full Senate votes on a contempt citation resolution. The President of the United States or Speaker in the House certifies the facts to the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. The statute says it is the U.S. Attorney's duty to bring the matter before a grand jury. In practice, the Department of Justice has long claimed prosecutorial discretion and has sometimes declined to proceed. Inherent contempt. Congress itself arrests and detains the person at the bar of the House or Senate until compliance or the end of the session, last meaningfully used in the 1930s. Civil contempt. Congress sues in federal court seeking an order compelling testimony. Paul indicated the committee would vote the following week on recommending contempt. Passage of a citation by the full Senate would start the referral process. So, prosecution's not automatic. The key determinants are validity of the fifth claim, prosecutorial discretion of the DOJ and U.S. Attorney. So if the U.S. Attorney just decides not to do it, then it's game over. Grand jury and trial as well.
Yeah, right. It's not going to go fucking
It's not
anywhere.
going to fucking happen,
Nothing's
dude.
going to fucking... It's just to embarrass him.
Yes.
At this point.
Yes, it's not going to happen. Oh, and it's just so that all the Republicans can get a little C-SPAN clip for the re-election campaigns.
Yeah, a nice little soundbite for their re-election.
It's bullshit.
I do think Moreno is taking him to House, though. But like you said, it's all words, no action. I'm going to take this time to read out the last batch of super chats. Thank you guys so much. Don't feel pressured. Just give what you can if you feel like it, pretty much. We appreciate your support. Just watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing is more than enough, guys. Thank you. Sex Twister, thank you for the $10 super chat. This is my favorite live stream these days. Keep it up. That's the fucking shit that gets the fucking,
blood flowing.
The blood
makes
flowing.
you want to break your semen retention.
No. Stop saying that around my phone now, for real. Thank you, Anastasia Beaverhausen, for the super chat. You guys think once Dems take over again, they will arrest Trump and his administration, or are they two wings of the same bird? That's a really good question, Anastasia Beaverhausen.
Yeah.
You think that they're going to go, what, impeachment? Passes through the Senate, and then they arrest him?
They're going to definitely try to impeach
because
him.
he doesn't have presidential immunity anymore?
They're going to try to get him on 25th or something. They're going to try to get him out.
I do think that there's a road being opened up for the 25th.
Yep.
Amendment.
And because they already tried to the last time. So
Watch
why
J.D.
wouldn't they try
Vance
again?
then. Does J.D. Vance turn on him? Because that would be
No,
the
JD won't
Senate
turn.
breaking
He
vote.
won't turn. It's political suicide. He won't turn.
What if the Dems have enough power accrued under the DSA alliance where he has no choice but to throw him overboard to keep his 2028 run intact?
I don't know. That's a good question.
And Honey Badger, thank you for the super chat. Bach, did you check out that B.O.B. song? Send me the song in How to Make Clones.
No, I haven't seen it.
We will be playing that song at the top of the third.
I don't know. Very interesting, by the way, that Elon Musk is planning on spending $120 million to push GOP candidates in 8 states.
I'll bring it up again at the start of the members only, Honey Badger. Yeah, sure. Let's play that clip.
All right.
Because he's getting political again. I thought he learned his lesson.
Republicans getting a major
Too, because there is this clip, I believe, of Elon Musk saying that he wouldn't give money to either presidential candidate in the future. Let's watch this real first.
Tesla and ex-chief Elon Musk says he will not donate money to either likely Republican nominee Donald Trump or President Joe Biden. The comments come after a meeting with the GOP candidate.
So he said he wasn't going to fund either of the last ones, and then he
Posting
pivoted.
on X, formerly Twitter, Musk wrote,
Just to be super clear, I'm not donating money to either candidate for U.S. president.
I'm not donating money to either candidate for U.S.
And he said something since the election, too, like he wasn't going to fund politics anymore. I can't find the clip right off the top.
I thought it was maybe theater when he first got viciously thrown out and then Doge got trampled to shit.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't think it's theater anymore. And he might even be donating because his political survival is so dependent, like his business survival is so dependent on his political.
Oh, yeah, they'll come in with massive antitrust. They'll kill the DOD contracts.
Yeah, and then they'll attack him worse than Tesla's burning up. That's for sure.
Yep. Wow.
Yep. So Musk is planning to donate $120 million to swing midterm elections, I believe, across 8 states.
We don't need to cover Vance's last government shutdown.
Yeah, that was 11 months ago. I just figured this next shutdown would go like the last shutdown, but probably more viciously.
All right, let's hit Trump on J6ers and Biden political prisoners.
I wish it weren't, to be honest with you. I think people were horribly treated, horribly abused. This has nothing to do with that. This was me. Horribly abused. And I'd like to see them compensated for the pain. They lost their families. They committed suicide. Many people committed suicide. They went down for an innocent journey. And I'm not only talking there, I'm talking about not even having to do with that. The way they were treated. The Biden administration and the Obama administration weaponized government and destroyed lives.
And nothing has been done to curtail the government's power.
No, it's
this is our chance. This is our chance to pass legislation. White House can't pressure private businesses, whether private or publicly traded, to censor their users. No legislation on that.
No, his whole compensation fund got nixed to shit by Thune.
Yeah. We're identifying all this fraud, and there's no justice whatsoever. No one's gone to prison.
Doge has been disbanded. It's formally
It's
done now.
bullshit, dude. I'm fucking sick of it. It's bullshit.
Yeah, so you think 2032 is going to be any better?
Yeah.
No, there's no political solution, JC.
1932 was a lot better than 1926 in Germany.
Yeah, that's Germany. This is the United States of America. And with so many different factions, such a more complex geopolitical.
In Germany, there were over 40 political parties, different ones, when the Nazis came to power. There were way more factions in Germany.
Yeah, Germany wasn't spanning the globe with over 700 military bases, with a military defense industrial complex.
Obviously, our military,
the proportions that we
Yeah,
have.
but obviously, our military presence is more profound than Germany's in the 1920s or the early 1930s. But I'm just saying that there is precedence that domestic politics can abruptly change, but it requires massive pressure.
And change for who? No one argues that the pendulum can swing from one way to the other very quickly. But are the changes that you think are going to be proposed good for us?
I don't know. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's why I'm saying I don't think it's a political
But what's going to
solution.
happen is if the Democrats win in 2028, there's going to be massive suffering.
Yes.
And if there's massive suffering, the new government in 32 will represent those who suffered.
And then, no, they'll just bring more suffering in.
Maybe. That's what the Third Reich did, but it got better before it got worse.
I mean, we're here dealing with end results, not a temporary change. Like,
Yeah, I
no one
understand,
cares
but there
about
are differences. Like somebody couldn't declare themselves dictator of the United States of America like they could in Germany.
I even disagree with that.
It's never going to happen.
You can suspend habeas corpus.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you can.
You cannot suspend a presidential election in the United States of America.
It's been done before.
Can't do it.
FDR served 3 terms. Can't have an election during the war.
That was before the Constitution was amended to limit the terms to 2.
Do we even have a constitutional government now? We have a constitution, right? Do we follow it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm saying we use it more as guardrails than faithfully follow it letter of the law. You know? We're not literalists.
We'll see.
That's all. I'm not even disagreeing it couldn't happen, but I don't think we should place our faith in it.
I'm not placing any faith. I'm not excited about it because the amount of suffering that we're going to have to endure to culminate this change in 2032 is going to be insane from 28 to 32. I'm really fucking worried about the next 6 years, dude. It's going to be fucking ugly. Very ugly.
You know what else is ugly? Should we do one of my favorite things to do, which is talk about diseases spreading around the world?
I don't want to
How
play
do
a
you
clip
feel
about
about it?
Ebola, but we can talk about it.
All right. Ebola, the Congo now has the second largest flare-up of Ebola in their country's history. We've been covering the Ebola angle. My main concern with this is that this gets bioengineered and it becomes aerosolized, which we're not going to respect the lockdowns under COVID because it was a fucking joke. We knew that the vaccine was most likely more deadly than the actual virus itself, if there ever even was a virus. There's so many theories between 5G attenuation or if this was just a psyop. Did it come from a pangolin? Did it come from a bat? No, it came from a lab in Fort Detrick to Chapel Hill, then shipped under Obama from Chapel Hill to the CCP Wuhan laboratory with Fauci over it. Was it genetically engineered? Was it not? This, that, and the other. But we all knew that it seemed like a dry run, right? We can agree on that. COVID was practicing a lockdown, getting people accustomed to these new protocols for disease management, social distancing, right?
I don't think
masks.
I think it was on purpose by China, but I don't think it was on purpose by the international kind of globalist deep state.
They're the ones that gave it to China.
Well, they gave China the right to develop viruses through gain-of-function theory, gain-of-function experimentation.
We've had patents on COVID and the response to COVID
There's
way before
There's
2019.
different coronaviruses, though.
Yeah, I agree.
This one was novel.
Yes, but they had the patents on the vaccines. They've been working on for over 10 years.
Yeah.
mRNA Operation Warp Speed was a cover story that's been established for close to a decade. If I might be wrong on the timing.
No, I think you're probably right.
Yeah, and we've seen Operation Lockstep. We've seen Event 201. All the pre-pandemic planning. You know what I mean? The corporations were all in on it.
I think China released it on purpose to keep Trump from being elected in 2020.
They would be working in tandem with the deep state to do that, though. And then they were involved in the election meddling that's come out. We've already known that, right? Smartmatic, Dominion, Chinese interference. Trump's already come out and begged his fucking cabinet.
But we should trust them when they say they're not going to give any weapons to Iran, or we should trust them when they say that they're not teaching Iranians how to hack F-35s, or we should trust them when they're not giving Iran the cyber intelligence needed to hack, American Airlines or T-Mobile or dozens of water treatment facilities in Minnesota. We should just trust China after they released a fucking virus intentionally across the entire planet. Why is it that our government is constantly covering for the ass of our enemies? We cover for Israel. We cover for Russia. When it kills Lindsey Graham, or when it bombs Poland or drops a missile in Poland, or we cover for China when it intentionally manufactures and then disseminates a virus across the entire globe. We cover for China when it hacks our elections, and we say that's xenophobic behavior. It's bullshit. We got Trump after he was wrongfully robbed of the election in 2020 because of this pandemic, which was manufactured and distributed by China, coming out and saying that it was okay for 500,000 Chinese people to come to the United States of America for an education. I mean, what the fuck? When are we going to break up with the entities that abuse us so much? Oh, but they still love us. It was actually our fault.
Well, I know they don't.
I'm going to be a better ally. I'm going to be a better. Like we're like a beat woman, dude. It's embarrassing, dude.
Yeah.
I feel like our government has just gotten to such a level of pathetic. It used to be okay that our politicians were weak and pathetic because we had such massive innovation and entrepreneurship, and we still had individual rights and freedom of speech. And so even when the government sucked, at least the American people could be successful and incredible and amazing and astounding and inspiring, and they could make incredible art and literature and cinema. And now even cinema is hijacked. Now all the literature is hijacked. Now all the art is hijacked ever since Mockingbird when we propped up Pollock in order to embarrass the Soviets. I mean, it's such bullshit the extent to which we've allowed ourselves as the American people to be totally and utterly neutered by a political class that wants to do nothing more than buy islands and fuck children. And we're not going to do anything about it because we have a roof over our heads and we've got fast food and Netflix.
And whacking your bag.
It's our fucking fault, dude. We
Yes.
are giant pussies.
Yes. Stop looking to your daddy government. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about all of us collectively. Our daddy government, daddy's not coming home to deliver milk.
And then we act like the shutdown's going to be a bad thing. We're going to see all the neoconservatives say, oh, Democrats are forcing a shutdown. That's what we want. We want the shutdown.
Well, so the point I was trying to make was none of the protocols that they have trained us on during COVID were respected, and it was laughable. But when you have gain-of-function Marburg virus, when you have gain-of-function smallpox, when you have aerosolized Ebola, those will be respected to the umpteenth percent.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing is,
no one's going to want to touch cash. No one's going to want to get together for a protest.
If something like that happens, though, the reason something like that won't happen is because it would kill our political class too, and the bureaucrats too.
They already have their bunkers ready.
Yeah.
They already have their islands ready. They already have their redoubts, their hideaways ready.
Yeah. They don't want to live in the bunker, dude. They will, but they don't want to.
They will want to once they lose control of the American citizenry.
Yeah.
And then their political power isn't worth anything because we're all in a state of rebellion.
Yeah.
Then the reset button gets hit. Boop.
They'll use fake pandemics in order to shut down economies, but they won't disseminate a real pandemic.
They'll use real pandemic to put down a rebellion.
I don't know. That's got too much collateral damage.
Not if you've mitigated for yourself and your family. These are very selfish people, Chase. These are the most selfish people on the planet.
You can't run from it, dude. You can't run from it.
They're not even that smart. Like the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, first generation, second generation even. Maybe even, no, not the third generation because that would be their grandkids. We're not dealing with your Henry Kissingers anymore and your Zbigniew Brzezinskis. You're dealing with the drug-addled grandchildren of these people who've, through nepotism, have gotten into power. And they're at the levers. They're not nearly as capable. They don't game theory out every end consequence of their actions. And they're narcissistic and arrogant. It's the same thing as people flipping over a board game when they're losing, bro.
Yeah.
That's my main theory. That's like I think these people are ruthless enough and stupid enough to do something like that. Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. C USA Patriot, for the super chat. Fauci funded the original research. We shipped it to China and lied. That's what I was saying. Then Fauci predicted the pandemic. Yep. You saw all the pandemic.
No
planning.
doubt Fauci was in bed with the CCP.
Oh, 100%. I'm a rock star. They love me. Elon was talking shit about me though. The Fauci diaries, bro. He's such a fucking faggot. You seen that he got flowers and he looks so smug because they're like, "We love you, Dr. Fauci, for everything you've done." And like he showed the card that someone wrote him to the media. I wouldn't be surprised if he shipped himself the fucking flowers, dude.
Dude,
he's that type of person. You don't want to hit every disease thing. We don't have to, but can we play this one clip? Clip 121.
Sure.
Officials in LA County are warning about a record number of flea-borne typhus cases. The Department of Public Health says there have been 220 cases so far this year, nearly 90% of patients requiring hospitalization. Cases have been reported countywide with localized outbreaks in the central Los Angeles area, Santa Monica, and Willowbrook. Symptoms generally appear within a week or two of infection and can include fever, headache, rash, and body aches.
Health officials are monitoring a typhus outbreak in the Pico Union area after 5 people were treated for the flea-borne disease. It's spread by infected fleas that are carried into the home by dogs and cats, but not from person to person. Symptoms include fever, headache, rash, body aches, and vomiting. There are a record number of typhus cases in LA County, 220 last year, according to the health department. 90% of those were diagnosed and were hospitalized. Anyone who thinks they've been infected is urged to seek medical treatment.
Okay.
Typhus is an old world disease, bro. Yeah. And the main vector I see here is we see ticks to spread certain illnesses, and now it's coming back in the fleas too. Typhus was like eradicated, and I thought in almost every civilized country.
Like,
and they're
saying,
like
100 years ago or something.
Yeah, and they're saying as from last summer to this summer, hundreds of people. It's cropping back up. So we've seen that plague outbreak in Colorado. We see typhus coming back off the West Coast. We see, obviously, Lyme disease, alpha-gal, different various forms of essentially weaponized syphilis. We've seen all the other disease outbreaks we covered, but it's worth keeping an eye on because it's not going to be one disease. And this might even be God's wrath on like a Sodom and Gomorrah situation, except not fire and brimstone and pillars of salt. It's going to be all sorts of gain of function, possibly even, or it could even be natural. Who the fuck knows? Is God's judgment on the land, or is this the result of?
Well, I mean, the biblical precedence is that if there's any innocent person, there'll be justice for the innocent people. If I could find one innocent person in the city, God's like, yeah, what if, you know what I mean?
No, I think it went down to 15, right? It started at like
I think it went down to 1, and he couldn't even find 1.
Really?
Yeah.
It went down to 1?
Yeah.
Holy fuck, dude. Thank you, Sex Twister, for the $10 super chat. Here's another tenner for calling out Fauci for being a cringe. Oh, dude, I'll call Fauci a faggot all day, dude. Dr. Fauci. He won't be held in contempt. They're just going to embarrass the
No, they're never going to do
out of
shit.
him.
Or Congress or the Senate or whatever will vote to hold him in contempt, and then the prosecutor won't do it. Or then the prosecutor will do it, but the grand jury won't vote to have it happen. It's bullshit. It won't fucking happen. And by the time all the lawsuits get done, there'll be a Democrat president anyway that'll just pardon him for the contempt in 2028. It's only a year and a half away.
I only cover like the political theater because it's in the news cycle and it's good for the show. But if I was just not doing the show and doing my own thing, I'd be focused on the environmental threats. That's why I'm so focused on the diseases.
We got to worry. What we have to worry about is economic collapse, massive weaponization of artificial intelligence, massive cybersecurity threats, and massive increases in surveillance and abuse by our own government. The government of the United States of America is the greatest threat to national security to the American people. It is by far and away the greatest threat to the American people. You're more likely to be killed by your own government. You're more likely to be conscripted by your own government. You're more likely to be taxed by your own government. You're more likely to be imprisoned by your own government. I mean, there's like 3 types of people in the United States of America in 2026. Those who have been in prison, those who are in prison, and those who will be in prison. Our government is the greatest threat to our own national security. And by the time we wake up and realize this at critical mass, by the time enough of us realize what's going on, it's going to be too late.
I think you have a few blind spots there.
Okay. Who's the greater threat to any random person in the United States of America?
I agree with everything you're saying, but I actually add more columns on top. We have the draft infrastructure being put in place. That is what the surveillance infrastructure is tied intimately to. We have ongoing war where they're about to export every military-age fighting man that could even mount an resistance here to die on a foreign battlefield. That doesn't matter. And all of these foreign governments and our own government are sitting on a mass array of biological weapons, where if the situation gets desperate enough for them, in my opinion, they will use them. You don't create something like that to never use it.
They'll use other shit first.
Well, who cares if they use other shit first? Don't you care if they are willing to use that? That's a fucking aerosolized germ, bro. You're not going to outrun it. You're not going to fight it. You're going to die a horrible fucking death bleeding out of your asshole.
If you make a pandemic viral enough to have an impact on a populace, then you run the risk as the political class of getting it yourself or having loved ones get it themselves.
But they have factors to mitigate it.
Yeah, they will quarantine themselves.
Yeah, they'll go in the bunkers. They'll go on their islands. They'll get on their yachts and stay at sea.
All right.
While this thing burns itself out.
All right. Even Trump got COVID during the last pandemic.
Could have been all for show.
Yeah.
We don't fucking know that. It's worth mentioning. I don't,
I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like mad that you brought it up.
No, it's a we're doing a threat assessment here that has to be talked about. These things are not my imagination. They've already fucking built them.
I think an EMP is more likely.
Well, that too. That would go on to the war front, right?
Yeah.
And they would be so incentivized to use an EMP during the imminent collapse of the financial system. Oh, it wasn't our mismanagement of the dollar, the petrodollar. It was an Iranian cyber attack and a Chinese North Korean EMP. Whoops. Sorry, guys. And we don't know why this weird kind of whooping cough is going around. Sorry, guys. I don't know why you're bleeding out of your asshole.
My fucking dad,
Sorry, guys.
My dad got whooping cough after he got the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, it's another thing that was going
on.
on.
And he was
around.
vaccinated for whooping cough. He still got it.
The vaccines are the weapons.
Yeah.
Dude. On top, they actually make the biological agent and then they own the response. It's the Hegelian dialectic.
Yep. Create the problem, offer the solution.
How are you going to get 100% of everyone? Some of them will outrun, hide, mitigate the actual viruses and the bioweapons and the diseases you have planned. So then you also own the response too, dude.
They're going to give every radical podcast host prostate cancer.
Stop saying that around my phone, dude. Like I told you, bro.
Stop censoring me, bro. You're like the government.
Yeah, I'm not censoring. I keep getting ads for shit like this.
Yeah.
So should we do a plug real quick before we switch to members?
Yeah, why don't you do a plug? So let me just explain. I'll let you do a plug.
Mm-hmm.
So we're about ready to go to members only at the top of the hour. We will be keeping the X Spaces live and taking speakers during the last hour of the show for members only. You can become a member on the YouTube channel to continue watching, or you can sign up for free or paid on chasegeiser.com to continue to watch the show. Obviously, the X Spaces is going to remain open because we want to take speakers from the space for the last hour. But please either become a member on YouTube or sign up at chasegeiser.com. We're going to be building out incredible features and updates on the back end. If you become a member at chasegeiser.com, you do get access to the hour before the show starts where Bak and I are just hanging out, shooting the shit, arguing with each other about what we're going to talk about. Plus, you get access to the post-show 10 to 11 p.m. Central content that we're about ready to get into now. But we're going to be doing other things like uploading dozens of viral moments from each show that we do together that you can download and post on your own social media to go viral and to help us spread the message of the show. Every dollar that you spend at chasegeiser.com or supporting us through Super Chats is around in the heart of the New World Order. We do need your support in order to keep this operation up and running, to sustain this. And we want to get to the point where we're doing a show every single day instead of just 3 times a week. We want to be having guests in here. We want to get a bigger studio so we can have more people in here at once with us. We are very serious, and I've learned a lot about broadcasting, not just from the podcast that I launched in 2021, but I spent 2.5 years at InfoWars learning from the best crew and watching the best broadcaster of all time, Alex Jones, and I do have the skills needed to build this. All I need is your support, your resources to turn this into the next thing. What the Daily Wire was for the neoconservative movement from 2010 to 2020, I want the Chase Geiser Network to be for America first from this point for the next 10 years, certainly through 2032. So this is meant to become the America First version of the Daily Wire with other hosts, other content, other resources, other things that can empower you, entertain you, inform you, weaponize you in the information war. Obviously, with artificial intelligence and the space race and World War III seeming to be about to start on every corner that we look, it's more important now than ever that you get involved, that you support the speakers, the broadcasters, the voices that you believe in. I'm grateful and humbled by the fact that I do have somewhat of an audience. And over the course of the last 5 years or so, I've garnered over 500,000 followers across platforms, 350,000 on Twitter, 130,000 on Instagram, 30,000 now I think on YouTube, 50,000 on Facebook. It adds up, and I mean to be a voice that people hear for those who believe the same things, understand the same things, know the same things, but just don't have the audience or don't have the capacity or the skills to get their voice out. I am that proxy for you. Bak is that proxy for you, and we're doing everything we can to weaponize this network against the lies, to wake up as many people as we possibly can so we do have critical mass of awareness before it's too late for us to reverse the ails that our civilization face. So please, give a little in the super chats. Go to chasegeiser.com and sign up. You can cancel anytime. Do what you can. And if you can't do anything financially, I understand things are very tight out there. Please share the streams, share the broadcasts, send them to friends, family, ex-girlfriends, whatever. Do what you can.
Your mother-in-law.
We're about ready to go to members only, so stay tuned for the next couple of minutes while we transition.
Oh, that was smooth. You did the plug.
Chase Geiser Network.